What if I told you that even if you are from a field that is totally unrelated to design or computer science or designing products, your domain expertise and your problem solving skills can be extremely valuable when you decide to make that switch? Hi, my name is Abhinav, and this is another episode of Design Journeys, where we talk to some designers about how they got their start and what you can learn from their success stories. So subscribe if that's something that you want to hear more of. In today's episode, we're going to be talking to Jeevanshu. Jeevanshu did his bachelor's as well as master's in a field called actuarial sciences, which is a field of statistics. He then worked as an analyst for 3 years before using all of that problem-solving skill, using that domain expertise, learning design, and today working as a product designer. So let's get into it. I remember the time. Let's go.
Yeah. Jeevanshu, welcome to our show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much.
So you've got a family, right? And you're already working in an existing field, making money, and then you decide that you want to move to design. How did that happen?
So I'll say that I started out on a wrong foot. Back in 2010, if I talk about myself, I decided to take up commerce over arts. But if I look back, I would have taken arts. I would have gone for something more creative, which I'm doing right now. But one decision, but I cannot blame a 16-year-old kid to know everything. So I took up commerce. That led me to take BSc Stats in Delhi University, and that led me to take MSc Actuarial. And then everyone has to look out for a job. Then I took a corporate job like everybody does, companies coming in, sitting for the placements. Then I got a job. I worked there for 3.5 years, and I genuinely realized I was having a retrospective between the COVID situation at home. Everybody was free, I had a lot of time. I realized that this is something that I really don't enjoy doing. I'm a painter. I paint a lot. I drew things. I played with clays. This is not exactly what I do right now, but I had this aptitude for creativity. But what I did at my office for 3.5 years, that was completely different. It was just because of the decision I made in 2010, based on what my peers said, based on what the Sharma ji ka ladka said, who was doing pretty well at that point of time. So it was just because of the kind of situation you are in at school, where parents, your friends, or people who are doing well influence you to take up those decisions. So this was just because of that. But later on, I was trying to fix that. I knew I cannot change my career, but I could take up hobbies. I could go back to drawing and painting. So what I used to do is I used to come back to work. I used to paint. So I used to leave at home around 9 in the morning. Then I used to come back around 10 at night. So when I came home, I used to paint. I used to draw a lot. So I had this goal where I have to make one painting, or at least try to finish a drawing in one single day. So one art piece a day. So I did this for straight 2 months, and I got addicted to it. The kind of satisfaction when you create something, I really loved that. That made me think, is this something that what I do at work? I was looking forward to go back home every day to just draw something. I was planning during my lunchtime, what would I draw today when I go back home? What do I create today? So after 2 months of doing this, I thought of why not try to change my career. I googled, I searched on YouTube as well. I found out about Abhinav. I went through his whole YouTube channel, all the videos. I give it a shot. I sat on all of the idea for like 2 months. I tried to learn Figma, and then when I was sure about that, this is not a fling anymore. I'm sure I'm gonna go ahead with designing. This is what interests me. I made a decision to just go ahead with it.
Yeah. So how many years had you been working at this point when you made that switch?
3.5 years.
And how much money were you making in actuary sciences and working in that field?
And what is that actuary sciences? Is that the actual term, official term? Like what is that?
So it's a very difficult question to answer. About the actuarial science thing, So there was this survey also rolled out earlier where it said the most unexplainable careers, actual science was on the top, and second was UIX. So I don't know why do I have this fantasy about the career streams that are hard to explain. But
Yeah.
actual science is basically all about core finance, risk management, calculation. So what I used to do
Hmm.
was I used to work for a company named Aeon. You might know them as the sponsor for Manu.
Manchester United,
And
yeah.
yep, yep. Uh, so what I used to do was I was a senior actuarial analyst when I quit. So we used to calculate pension valuation for the clients. So we had clients in UK. So you had to calculate I had to take into the account of mortality, financial rates, and what would it cost the company at the certain point of time. So it would be huge numbers. I used to
Hmm.
do hand calculations. There was some software where we had to calculate a few things. And then we had to match all of these things. So basically, asset valuation kind of thing. But here we are
Got it.
valuating liability. And talking about salary, when I quit, I was earning somewhere around 5.5 lakh. And how generally it goes in this career stream is that you clear exams and you make the progression. So there are 12 exams. More exams you clear, more salary you earn, and more switch you make, more salary you earn, which is applicable everywhere.
Hmm.
So you're making this salary. You could have done certifications, made more money, and it's not that easy. Like, I mean, you're not just like a bachelor anymore, where you can just decide to change your career. You have to talk to your wife, you talk to your family. So how did that conversation go in convincing them that, hey, let me try out this new field?
It wasn't that difficult, but I'll tell you what approach did I make. So even I wasn't sure how I'll convince them. But first of all, I told you that I wanted to be sure myself. So I sat on the idea. I learned by myself. When I was sure, I went ahead. Then what I used to do was I used to show a few designs I made to my family every day. See what I've made, and they used to like it. So over like a month or two, they kind of developed this intuition that this guy is trying to learn new thing. He seemed to be good at it. No matter how shitty I am at that, my parents don't know anything about design, but they could see that I'm making efforts. I'm working 12 hours a day, but when I'm coming back home, I'm putting efforts on. But when it comes to the risk appetite, your parents won't motivate you or let you take that risk when you are 26 or 27. You are married. You have a certain you might have or you might not have responsibilities, but this is how it generally goes in
Hmm.
Indian families. Uh, but like I said, I told them every day what kind of work would I do, how much salary would I draw, is this more than what I currently earn, how far it could go, am I
Hmm.
really good at it, how confident I am with it. So all these pointers I used to tell them every day, like a proper serious conversation. So there was this agreement that I came upon when I was just about to join the cohort. So I told my wife and my parents that what I'm going to do is I'm going to join the cohort. It costs around 75-80,000. And they were like, okay, but what's the scope? I've been telling them every day. I told them that if I get a job, it would be much more than what I'm earning right now. But if I don't get a job, I'm still earning. I'm still working at the company, so I won't quit. If I get a job, then only then I'll be quitting. So they were fine
Hmm.
with it. There's no risk here. This is just pure effort that I'll be putting. There's no scope of risk.
Hmm.
Now the catch here is 1 month down the cohort, I
Yeah.
realize that if I don't uh, put my 100% in the next 3 to 4 months, it's not worth it. अगर मैं 2-3 महीने में अपनी salary double triple कर सकता हूँ, why? So that is more risky in a longer run. 2-3 महीने में salary triple हो सकती है, but मैं वो नहीं कर रहा. Isn't that risky as well?
Hmm.
Then so I was in Kerala. I came back. I kind of talked to my wife, my parents that I think I should quit. And if nothing works out in like 3 to 4 months, I'll join back. They'll be happy to take me. Like I'm not bad at the job I'm doing. So they were like, okay, just give it a try. Are you sure about it? Yes, I am. I'm pretty confident. I didn't leave any scope of doubt. Luckily, things turned out well. I gave my best in the next, like the rest of the period of the cohort, post cohort as well. I gave my best to build portfolios, reach out to people, connect with.
So, talking about that transition, right, from your current job to design, how long did that take, maybe in terms of months? And what other highlights were there along the way?
Uh, so it took me around 2 months to self introspect if I really wanted. Cohort was like for 3 months. Post cohort, 2 more months. So somewhere around 6 to 7 months it took me to actually get a full time job. But I started doing some freelance work after 4 to 5 months of learning as well.
Hmm. And how different was this transition, like when you're actually in it, compared to what you thought it might be like? How different was that?
It is actually quite different. The kind of videos, the kind of material you read online, it is very it is just 10% of what you see on the internet. But the kind of detailing, the kind of precision and decision making that you have to do on the job, I'd say that is not overwhelming, but it helps you build confidence. You have a new perspective for the job. Now what I used to do at my other job was I used to work here, but I was dealing with clients in London. So I was kind of
Hmm.
offshore and I was sending my work to onshore. And the onshore people would used to go to the client to present my work. So what am I doing here? I'm just the manual labor here. I'm working, but my work is being presented by someone else sitting outside who is also getting paid more than me. It just doesn't make sense. But at a startup, as a designer, you get to make decisions. You collaborate with sales, marketing, founders themselves, product managers, other designers. You get to see your impact. I can see the design decisions I make. They are making impact to the matrices, the sales. I can see numbers going up and down. So this is quite good. I feel like I said, the sense of satisfaction when you create things, the kind of impact they make. It is quite it's quite good.
Hmm. I think one very common thing people are stuck on is that first job, getting that first job, like convincing them, hey, maybe I'm just starting out. Like, why would you pick me? Or just like that entire process of, okay, now I've learned and I'm kind of confident in my skills, but how exactly do I get that job? Let's talk a little bit about your experience with working with Verac, and it wasn't called that earlier, that a different name, Bima Pay. What was that experience like, and how did that happen?
So for everybody to know, I made a few case studies for where I reached out to Rahul Mathur, the founder, on Twitter. Like I have a few things that I think can be improved on your dashboard or your product and your website. So do you mind if I can create a case study? You'll get a perspective, and if you like it, you can hire me later. So I'm very upfront about the idea. And he was like, yeah, sure, why not? And then within 3-4 weeks, I made two case studies. They liked it and they hired me. Uh, so when I reached out to them, it was Bima Pay. It was a different product, but then we pivoted to Virac. They hired me when they decided to pivot to Virac actually. So when I joined, I had a senior designer whose name was Abraz. He's working with another company now. The experience was pretty different. In fact, like I said, the corporate structure and the startup culture is it's very different. You get to learn things by yourself, also by the seniors. There are a lot of feedback that you get from everyone, but at a corporate structure, you have just one person who will be reviewing your work. You have just one perspective over there. But things are also very monotonous at a certain point of time. But as a designer at a startup, there is something new, a new problem statement, a new solution that you encounter every day. That is very exciting.
So I'm curious to know. I mean, and a lot of people who are watching this are like, what does the salary progression look like when you work as a startup as a designer? So can you share maybe your salary progression with numbers if possible, so people can get a perspective?
Yeah, sure. So I started out at 7.5 lakhs. 6 months down the line, my senior left the company, so I took up all the responsibility. So with more responsibilities comes more salary. Uh, so I got some progression there. So from 6.5 lakhs, my salary got increased to 13 lakhs. Recently, I have completed my 1 year, and based on the feedback and all the progression, all the scales, my salary is now 17 lakhs. So within 1 year, I've came down from 9.5 lakhs to 17 lakhs. But if we also keep an account of my previous job, which was 1.5 years ago, uh, I've come down from 5.5 lakhs to 17 lakhs.
More than tripled.
Yeah. Plus, I also sometimes do freelance work from Like when I didn't have the job, I got acquaintance with a few freelance clients. They reach out to me for a few changes or for a few things that they need design wise. So I also earn somewhere from there as well. So by it's more of like 20 lakhs per annum that I'll be earning right now, plus ESOP that I'm getting from there.
That is insane, bro. Jenny, I'm just kind of
Yeah.
thinking in terms of, we started this conversation with, how do you convince your parents? How do you convince around you? Because it's a big transition, right? Moving from a known, fixed, stable thing to an unknown kind of variable, maybe unstable thing. But amazing. That's been a crazy progression. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Even I think about it and I can feel how far I've come, and yet I have to achieve a lot. I have to learn a lot, but I sometimes I'm not overwhelmed, but I do feel a little proud that I've done some work and it shows.
Talk to me a little bit about your time at 10K as well, because I know, of course, you went through the cohort. You've also, joined as an alumni mentor. You're helping a lot of designers um, who are also in a similar, let's just say, transition that you went through. What's that kind of experience been like?
So now as a mentor, I can see what the members are going through. But when I joined, I was pretty much sure of what things I'm going to do. I guess it was also about the age. I knew what things I have at it. I had my goals clear enough. Average age of the cohort was somewhere around, I guess, 22 or 21. I was 26 or 27 at that point, but I didn't feel left out. I kind of behaved like a Gen Z person, so they didn't exclude me from the crowd. Yeah, like they call, I was not behaving like a boomer. It was pretty nice. The kind of mentorship I get, what I am right now, it's all because of 10K, to be honest. 10K for the win, and
Yeah.
special thanks to there are a lot of mentors. Like there's a long list. The kind of feedback you get from mentors, the kind of motivation you get from the members as well. It's insane. The kind of head start you get on the networking. That's something that people have been reaching out to me like, is 80K too much for the cohort? I say that it is not, because the kind of ecosystem that you get into, 80K is nothing. Look at the long term, the kind of things that they explore via the cohort. It is really insane. The experience have been really amazing for me. Plus now as a member, I can see people getting demotivated very early, which even I could have. I might have at certain point of time, but I had members with me who motivated me. I could see 21 years old doing the same thing very nicely, and they had this vision that they had to do it. I felt really nice. Like I'm 28, I'm still trying to figure out, and a 22-year-old knows what he wants to do.
Mm.
That also motivated me a lot. But now when I mentor, also focus upon motivating. I guess people quit quite early. Rather than focusing on like thinking about how do I convince my parents, how do I convince the community around me, they first have to convince themselves, which is where they lose the battle halfway.
Mm. And before the journey, did you know other designers, or like how did the? I want to talk a little bit more about the social side of things, right? Because you guys have been very active in a lot of the Delhi meetups. There's outside Delhi as well, right? The bunch of meetups that you guys did. What's the social side of it been like for you? Like meeting other designers.
Meeting, so I knew none of the designers. All of the designers were inside LinkedIn for me. Uh, I didn't know about this career field like before taking up like 3 months ago. I reached out to a couple of people that I found out on LinkedIn. Like this is my situation. I'm planning to switch. So would you mind having a 15 minutes conversation with me? We have ADP list now, but earlier it wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I talked to a few designers. They were very helpful, but nobody agreed to meet and tell you. But when I joined 10K, it suddenly blew up. To suddenly have an access to a community where there are at least 1,000 designers, because one designer knows another 200 or 300 designers. Now I've specially flew down to Bangalore just to meet a few bunch of designers. Few months ago, we connected like we knew each other from a long time, but we just met through the cohort. It has been really good. I have more designer friends now than I have from the whole college and school.
Oh my God.
Awesome.
And all of them are like below 24. And I'm 20. I'm gonna be 28 in four days now.
Happy birthday in advance.
Thank you. Overall, this has been really good. This has been really good for me. I feel grateful that I have found out about 10K. I feel really grateful that Abhinav thought of this idea. You are changing a lot of lives.
Thank you, bro.
Kudos to you, no doubt.
Yeah, and a big thanks to you. Like, I think one of the core things, like, I think yours was cohort 2, right?
Third cohort.
Third cohort 3. I think since cohort 3, and now, as of now, we're now entering cohort 6. I think one of the core parts of this whole experience is the mentors. It's the industry mentors and you as an alumni mentor. Because I totally get when you said, the motivation, which is more than convincing your parents and the world around you, you have to first be convinced yourself. And it can be very difficult, especially if you have limited knowledge, you have certain beliefs based on what your past experience was. And so to have mentors like you who are able to just talk to them and be like, yo, let's do this. Like, it's possible. It's been done. What's the problem?
Exactly.
How do we do it?
Exactly. If someone else can do it, even why not me? Like, I know myself. If I tell somebody else that you can do it, if I have done it, you can do it, that would be wrong. But if I identify this myself, like, I know my skill set, I know where I come from, what kind of mindset I have. If I can see somebody on the same line doing it, if I know my capabilities, why can't I?
Absolutely, bro. Perfect, bro. Awesome.
That thing's gonna come up again.